Yo, what's going on? It's your main man, Rick the Dawn. Hey, what's going on, y'all? So I am going to talk about episode one. I'm a little bit behind everybody, but don't worry, this is still a great episode because I just watched it and it was amazing. So this episode is brought to you by wordy.com, Broken Heart Shirts. We can get really cool clothing like this, as well as the Really Hood podcast. That's my podcast. All right, so let's jump right in. So first off, I want to point out that this season is extremely diverse. I just saw so many types of people represented on the show, and I'll be honest with you, it was a good thing to see. Survivor has come a long way, where it's one side heavy or the other side heavy, or just two races being represented. In this episode, I think I maybe counted 4 to 5 different races, so that was good to see. The cast feels very childlike. I'm not sure if it's the episode one jitters or what, but I will say that this cast in general, especially if you're talking about the Green Tribe, it just seemed to be very childlike. It almost felt like I was watching, some elementary or middle school kids play Survivor, and Jeff just kind of came across as a teacher or principal. I just noticed that about the tribe. Now, if you don't know the tribe dynamics, you have 3 different tribes this season to start things off. You have the Orange Tribe, which is Ratu, the Green Tribe, which is Soka, and then you have or Saka, one or the other, and then you have the Purple Tribe, which is Tika. Okay, so I want to talk about some of the players. Yam Yam, what a huge personality. He's on the purple team. He wears sandals. He's just a crazy, outlandish, very loud individual. You can't help but notice him. He's there. All right. He is quite the character. The question is that going to be a good thing or bad thing as this season plays out? Who we got here? We got Romero. What's up? With PBTS is hey, I got somebody in here. Romero is here to talk about investing. That's how confusing my channel is. I got so many different things I do on my channel. Hey, Romero, this is my Survivor show. I'll be doing some investment stuff soon, Romero. But let me just take a second. I'm sorry. See, he's so unprofessional. PBTS, I'm sticking in there, Romero. I don't care what happens with PBTS. I'm going to stay in there. I got a lot of shares invested. I got about 12,000 invested. I'm not going nowhere, bro. I don't trust it. I'll be honest with you. But anyway, next, Jamie felt the pressure seeing Bruce go down. So let's talk about Bruce. Bruce goes down in the very first challenge, and it was hard. I felt bad for him. I will say that. But if you watched the episode, you saw Bruce do these frog splashes underneath the. They were like obstacles, and he would just frog splash without any type of like caution. And it was my opinion that Bruce was so excited to be on the show that he wanted to make a really good first impression. So when Jeff said, start playing, he was just sprinting so fast and diving under those little wooden beams so fast that he cracked his head. But when she sees that happen, she realizes that Survivor has officially started and that the game is officially on. But I wanted to quickly talk about who will win Survivor 44. And I know everyone will. I'm still looking at Romero's comments. So funny. Anyway, I'm sorry. But no, so one of the big themes of this episode is to talk about who you think will win episode or season 44. And this is a tradition with my live streams when it comes to game shows like Survivor or Big Brother. Who do I think is going to win? I always do my very first episode in which I, pick my two players. For me, I am going to go with I'm going to go with my second pick first. That might be better. For my second pick to win the entire season, I'm going to pick Heidi. Okay, Heidi is a really cool, low-key chick. She's really seasoned. And this is the cast right here. I do apologize that you can't see that as clear as I would like you to. But yeah, so Heidi is this beautiful woman right, where's she at? Here, okay? That's Heidi. Heidi's amazing. She started the first fire for her tribe, and I like her a lot. Now, my first pick will be, drum roll, please, Carson. Can you see this guy? You can see my baby. Hold on. All right. Carson is this guy right here. This amazing guy right there. Carson. That is my first pick to win the entire season. Now, why do I pick these two players? First off, Carson is incredibly intelligent, or at least he appears to be. He's very quirky. He's very innocent. He doesn't have a bad bone in his body. He's not going to try to backstab anybody. And for those reasons, I just think he's going to go pretty far in the game. As far as Heidi is very maneuverable. She has a burning passion. On several occasions, she talked about, just wanting to represent, being underestimated. So she has a chip on her shoulder. Those are the type of things that I believe will, elevate her higher in the game or further in the game. So my first pick is Carson. My second pick is Heidi. All right, next, Bruce splits his head in the first challenge. Really gruesome hit. We saw that. Medical was called to assist Bruce. And for a minute, I thought that Bruce would actually survive this situation, but it turns out the situation was overwhelming and he could not survive throughout the week. Claire says all this for Flint. So I do want to talk about Claire's comments. If you don't know, this is Claire here in the second row, this young lady right there. All right, she says all this for Flint, and I think she was referencing how tough the first challenge was. I mean, seriously, we had somebody basically get put out the game in the first challenge. So I think that tells you everything you need to know about how difficult season 44 is. But Jeff snaps back right away and says, yes, Claire, all that for Flint. Welcome to Survivor 44. So Jeff is making it a point to assure the cast that this will not be a easy task. Anyway, green wins the first place prize, and then orange finishes second in the very first challenge. And there you go. Those are your dynamics. Okay. Now, when we get to the green trial, we do notice that the cast is overly friendly. And I think it was Danny, this gentleman here. All right, Danny, right here. Danny's the one who says, hey, usually on Survivor, you have a situation where, somebody is making themselves a target by being nasty or mean. But he points out that this cast is so nice that it's hard to do that. And I have to agree. Like the green tribe was like ridiculously friendly. So this season is going to be very difficult in terms of just pinpointing a evil person necessarily. Now, this season had this new dynamic, and I really, really enjoyed it. They had a bird cage in the middle of the tribe, and this caused a lot of debate, a lot of friction, because people wanted to know what this bird cage represented. And it turns out the bird cage was basically hiding an idol and a fake idol. How awesome was that? Anyway, the orange tribe, because they finished second, they have to do a challenge, and they decided to do sweat because they were not quite sure what the challenge might be if they went savvy. So they gave the purple tribe the savvy uh trivia contest event. You know the word I'm looking for. Anyway, Carolyn is crazy. So I just want to point out the star of this season, Carolyn. She's going to be someone who's trending all over social media. Carolyn is right there. Okay. She's going to be, there she is, Carolyn Wiger. She's going to be trending all over social media. Let me just tell you and get it out the way, because she is so funny. She reminds me of Britney Spears. All right, terrible, I know, but she just has really quirky energy. And I'll be the first one to say this: I totally believe she has autism. All right, and I'm not being nasty or nothing like that. My daughter has autism, so I just, that's what I'm saying. I recognize the signs. And to me, she definitely came across as someone who has functional autism. All right, Orange Tribe struggles with the sweat challenge. This is our first time getting a chance to see some of the players on the orange on the Orange Tribe, and it is this guy here, Brandon. And I didn't notice it initially, but he played football, and so that was pretty cool to see an athlete on the show. And he's teaming up with who I like to call Matt G. Okay, Matt G is on the Orange Tribe as well, and they're competing. And they do the sweat challenge. Initially, they thought the sweat challenge would be easy, but it turns out dragging a fish net full of coconuts in the sand back and forth was not an easy task. Who knew? All right. But consequently, they give the savvy challenge to the purple team. And it turns out that they are whiz kids over there. And this is why, or I should say, this is where I'll introduce my number one pick to win this season. This awesome guy right here, Mr. Carson. Okay. He turns out to be this whiz kid. And we know what whiz kids do to games like Survivor and Big Brother. They are a heck of a lot more competitive than you might think. And I think he actually used the aid of Heidi. Heidi's the player that he solves the puzzle with. And let me tell you, this puzzle was extremely complex. If I was on the show, if I had to solve this particular puzzle, I would have lost a long time ago, but he does it successfully. Okay. But anyway, because the sweat challenge was so difficult, you see that Matt G and Brandon rather, they actually start to form a bond. So that was kind of cool. All right. Anyway, we get to the other tribe, and this is Heidi. I would like to introduce you to my second pick to win the entire season, and this is where Heidi shines. This beautiful lady here. So when you first get to camp, you have the situation where you're trying to start fire, and Heidi shined bright. Okay, what she did was she took the reins for her tribe and actually started a fire rather successfully. And this is why I think she's going to be a problem. Or I think she's going to go really, really far. I think she has the grit and the attitude to, overcome a lot of the challenges that will come her way. I'm either very right or very wrong, and we will find out. All right. Anyway, Franny and Matthew B form a alliance. Okay. If you don't know who Franny is, it's this beautiful lady here. Okay. And she forms an alliance with this awesome gentleman here, Maddy B. And I saw in the previews for episode 2 that they might just start a romance, okay, a showmance. So that's kind of cool. Bruce is let me see, what does it say? Bruce is pulled from the there you go. Yeah, so oh my gosh, how terrible was it? Bruce is pulled from the game, and I'm going to just say it now. I'll put it out there into the atmosphere. I believe that Bruce would have won season 44 had he not been pulled from the game. He had all the makings of a player that would go far. And I believe he got pulled from the game, righteously. I thought that the injury that he sustained was pretty bad. But that being said, he talked with such charisma. He was such a positive individual that I believe that had he not been pulled from the game, he would have easily won. All right. Matt G becomes a provider. All right. So if you don't know, your main man, Matt G, he becomes a provider for the Orange Tribe. And I had to ask this question. Is Matt G doing too much? If you've watched this episode, what do you think about that? Is he actually doing too much? Is he playing the perfect game? Because I'm going to go on the side or err on the side of just doing too much. All right, he's taking the reins, which is a positive, but he's putting himself in the front line a little too much. All right, so anyway, Matt G, speaking of doing too much, decides to climb up this huge cliff because, according to him, he's not going through a midlife crisis. He's going through midlife challenges, and he wants a challenge. That's what he tells the camera. All right, and that challenge almost takes him out of the game. All right, he climbs up the rock cliff, whatever you want to call it. And I actually watched it in slow mo to see how he fell, and it was like he just on one pull up, he just didn't grab the wall. He just kind of just stepped up and totally didn't grab anything, almost as if he was like high off life or something like that. But consequently, he fell down, and I saw the fall. The fall was gruesome. In fact, when he hit the ground, I thought I saw blood, but maybe I didn't. I saw blood coming in. I saw some blood, and then apparently he knocked his shoulder out of joint, but was able to replace it back in, and had a nasty bruise on the bottom of his, I want to say, his big toe. And the injuries just start to pile up in this season, and it started looking pretty bad. Now the crazy part is, Matt had this terrible gash underneath his big toe, and when you saw it, you just said that can't do so well in this environment because it's a lot of dirt, it's a lot of sand, so all that stuff could potentially infect the wound. That's where my mind went. All right. Anyway, Brandon finds the key and is caught by Maddy. This is where things get very interesting. So when they get back to the game itself, all the players spread out. I'm talking about the Orange Tribe right now. They spread out and they're looking for the key to this cage. And it turns out that your main man Brandon is the one who finds it. And unfortunately, he doesn't find it alone. He finds it in the midst of this awesome lady here, Maddy, right? And once Brandon finds it, he tries his best to play it off as if nothing's going on. Hey, I didn't find it. But Maddy sees something bulging in his pocket, which I think was a fail on Brandon's part. I would have just put it in my pants and kept it pushing. But that is not what happened. He put it in his pocket, and you could actually see through his pocket. So she immediately knew he had the key, or at least the advantage. And as such, he decided to just spill the beans and just say, "Hey, I got it." And I think at that particular moment, they have a conversation about whether or not uh, he should go forth and tell the tribe. Maddy wanted to keep it a secret, but Brandon decided to tell everyone, mainly because he did not want to work with Maddy. And it's at this particular moment that Maddy realizes that her and Brandon probably won't have anything to do with each other in the game. And I think this is where Maddy starts to gun for Brandon. All right. So anyway, Brandon finds the idol and he finds the dummy idol, which is really cool. I like the new change this season where they give you the idol and the dummy idol so that you can do something cool with it. I'm not sure how effective it would be considering that, you know, everybody will know there's a dummy idol in the game. So I'm not sure it's going to fool anybody, but it's really cool to see that they tried that. Anyway, Sarah gets the inheritance advantage. So you have these players, one player from each tribe go out on this little journey, and they have to risk their vote for these advantages. And Sarah gets the inheritance advantage, and that was kind of cool. It's something new, and I would argue maybe a little OP, a little overpowered. All right, so if you don't know who Sarah is, it's this awesome lady right here. She gets the inheritance advantage. Basically, she can steal every advantage played at one tribal council. I thought that was a little overpowered, just in my personal opinion. But anyway, Matthew gets nothing. He actually loses his vote. All right, he tries twice to gain something. He loses his vote for the next 2 weeks. So that happened. And then Lauren, all right, the polarizing figure. You're either going to love Lauren or you're going to hate Lauren. But she wins the bank of vote advantage where she sacrifices one of her votes in order to gain two. Now, what do you think about that? She comes back and she tells her tribe a lie, basically stating that she did not get anything at all. Some people will frown upon that decision. Some people will look at it favorably. I'm somewhere in the middle because for me, it's like, you know, you're in a game, a very competitive game, and you don't necessarily want to tell everybody everything because they're out to kill you. It's called Survivor. So not necessarily a big, fan of spilling all the beans. I will say that I wasn't a big fan of the story that she told. I thought that maybe she told the wrong story. I think she should have been a little more creative about her rules when she got back to camp. Anyway, I do want to talk really quickly about the new theme for Survivor 44. It's a really cool theme. It seems to be based on Dungeons and Dragons of some sort, medieval times. So that was cool. And because of that theme, the immunity idols look absolutely amazing. You have the sword and shield, and let me tell you, they are absolutely stunning. From an artistic standpoint, I absolutely love them. All right. The immunity challenge is draining. All right. They have to move around these gigantic pieces, this gigantic treasure chest. And it's like a huge, huge puzzle that takes a lot of muscle. And as such, your main man, Brandon, tanks out. He is not able to carry on in the game. He's actually medically evacuated due to dehydration and taken out the game. And as such, this causes a big problem because he's one of the strongest players on his team. And subsequently, his team loses third place. All right, but anyway, Claire tells Matt G that when a player loses that vote, so this is where things get very interesting. So Claire, while they, I should say, Claire and Matt G are sitting out on this challenge, they don't decide to play in the game. But while they're sitting out, Claire tells Matt G about what happens when you go on that little voyage, right? Because who was it? It was Matt B. Matt B comes back and he tells his tribe, hey, so I risk my vote. And he actually shows them a card. And this definitely tells Claire or shows Claire what happens if you lose a vote. So Claire talks to Matt was his name, Matt G, and just basically says, hey, I don't know what happened with Laura or Lauren. What's her name? Laura or Lauren? I don't know what happened with Lauren, but if she really lost her vote, she should have had evidence. And that is what makes Matt G realize, wait a minute, Lauren could be throwing us for a loop. All right. So anyway, the Green Tribe wins the very first immunity, first place. So that was kind of cool to see that. That would mark their second consecutive win, which means that they're on the road. They're on the road. Purple wins second place. And as we know, because Brandon is taken out and dehydrated, it's just no way that orange team was going to pull it together. And I believe that he really was drained on the sweat challenge when he was working with Matt G. And I think that it was because of that all that exertion. He was exhausted by the time they got to the immunity challenge. That's my personal opinion. But anyway, Matt G talks with Brandon about what he told or what he was told. So Matt G eventually talks to Brandon about what happened with clear, spilling the beans about what Lauren could be lying about. And as you can probably guess, a scramble ensues about who's going to go home now that we all know that the Orange Tribe is the one that's going to be voting someone out. And this is when you start to realize or see some of the snakiness come out, because we see that this lady here, Maddy, she decides to absolutely just gun for Brandon. All right, she's gunning for Brandon, and then some other players gun for Lauren. All right, so you had Matt G gunning for Lauren, you had Maddy gunning for Brandon, and I'm like, here we go again. The same dynamics. It never changes. The show just doesn't change that much. It's getting better, but it doesn't change that much. So Brandon and Lauren are the first targets, and for me, I'm thinking to myself, all right, we got another one of these seasons. So, I'm just kind of like, all right, let's get this out the way. Let's get them all out so we can get the game going. But a really big surprise happens. Anyway, Jamie plays a shot in the dark. Now, I do want to know if you think that Jamie playing the shot in the dark was a clever move. For me, it was a terrible move. All right, Jamie plays the shot in the dark. And is it just me, or was there really no reason for Jamie to do that? Okay, I didn't see or hear anyone talking about Jamie or saying that she was a possible goner. I just felt like that was overplaying at its finest. So she plays the shot in the dark. Lauren intelligently banks her vote, and then Matt G doubles down on the bad gameplay and plays his shot in the dark as well. I thought that was a bad move as well. I just didn't understand I didn't understand the point of those two players playing a shot in the dark. In fact, I think they screwed Maddy, because if you don't know, Maddy goes home, right? She goes home because eventually, after all that takes place, Brandon plays his idol, right? Brandon plays his idol, which I thought was super intelligent. Oh my gosh, I couldn't control myself. I just thought to myself, thank you, Brandon. Finally, somebody understands the full purpose of having an idol in this game. When you have an idol in this game, you use it. You don't just hold on to it. You don't take it as a souvenir. You don't pack it with you just to show everybody you have it. You use it. So because the crazy events took place, that being Jamie playing the shot in the dark, Lauren banking her vote, basically not having one, and then Matt G playing a shot in the dark, and then Brandon playing the idol, there wasn't really much room for anybody to go home except whoever Brandon wanted to go home. And that just so happened to be Maddy. All right. I thought it was great to see Maddy go home. I just did not like the fact that she was gunning so hard, playing so hard against Brandon. And, I'm okay. It's competitive. So I'm okay with the player trying to get somebody out. But what I didn't like is the bullseye that she painted on Brandon in a way that I thought was sort of unfair. He's a kingpin. He's running the game. I didn't get any of those vibes from Brandon. I mean, the guy passed out during the challenge, for crying out loud. So I didn't see him as this runaway kingpin player. I just didn't see it. He seemed like a player who was like gasping for air and trying to get some, he's tired. And also, it was Maddy's idea to not tell the tribe mates about the advantage. And Brandon chose to do it anyway. So if there was anybody who could be considered a king or queen pin, it would have been Maddy, because she was trying to, withhold information from the players. And that's the exact same person who went on and started to spread all these rumors. So I didn't like that kind of play. I thought it was kind of snaky. And, I thought that she might get away with it because I've seen these type of things happen before. But due to the crazy events that no one could have predetermined, yeah, Maddy got kicked out the game. I was very interesting. But nevertheless, that is my recap of episode 1. I'll be doing this again on Friday as I catch up on episode 2. All right. And then if you like this, you know what to do. Like it and subscribe. I'll holler at you though. Peace.